revolutionizing the way people treat people in business. The Experience Pros, America's home for positive business talk.
Welcome back to the Experience Pros Radio Show. Thank you. This is America's home for positive business talk. We're empowering you to build your brand right here on the radio.
Nobody does it better than you. Have you tapped into the trend of becoming an influencer in 2018? We sure hope so. If you haven't yet and you want some help with that, go to massivemediaexposure.com. We're going to give you a free complimentary report for how you can get more media going forward. Eric, I know that they say that the fortune is in the follow-up. Have you ever heard that?
F you.
Excuse
follow-up. That's my abbreviation for follow-up. I write that in my calendar because there's not a lot of space.
There's not a lot of space, right?
Yeah.
It is. Do you remember the old days when we had our planners and we wrote really little so we could fit it all into our day timers?
Right.
I got really good at writing very small in that space.
And I just like saying follow-up.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Well, we want you to become a follow-up fanatic. Our friend Eli Delaney, Professor Eli, you can find him at yourmarketingarchitect.com. He's a regular here on the Experience Pros Radio Show. He teaches a course on this, but I found an article at entrepreneur.com. Just a couple of tips to help you kind of close the deal and making sure that you're following up. Too often, we drop the ball when it comes to follow up as entrepreneurs.
Sure.
We might follow up 1, 2, maybe 3 times if we're, super on the ball and super assertive about our follow up process. But too often we're meeting people, we're connecting with people, and we're just collecting business cards, really.
Which just collect dust, which doesn't collect any money whatsoever.
And really, there is untapped fortune in those business cards, in those connections that you made. And if you think about in 2017, how many people liked you, how many people followed you, how many business cards you collected, how many conversations you had, how many coffee meetings, how many introductions were made, how many referrals came to you? Lots. But how many times did you follow up? And are you still following up? And I do not mean putting them on your email database and your email newsletter. That's not really a follow-up. That's a great drip campaign. That's a great little touch campaign to be going on. But you directly following up with the people that you started conversations with.
Right.
And so here are some things that you can do. And number 1, entrepreneur.com recommends become an information resource.
It is so important when somebody can become an information resource that says, I need something, I know who to go to. It's you, right?
Right.
Then what more do you need? Well, maybe 2 more things. But.
So we have what we call the 3 I's, the 3 ways to get in with your customers. And one of them is interest, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that kind of matches this and being this information source. Find an article. If you find something that you think would interest them and you know what their interests are, maybe they're into vintage cars, maybe they're into pets or museums or art or coffee or whatever, right? When you see an article that you know would interest them, send it to them. It's a non-salesy way to keep yourself on their radar, and it shows them that you're just kind of a pay it forward kind of person. Now, how do you find out what they're interested in? You have to have a conversation. But if you don't, then you're at risk of losing them to your competition. And so making sure that you find out some things that are, and this is not rocket science. Google them.
Just Google them.
Google them. What kind of things are they posting? What kind of pictures? What kind of articles? What kind of things do they like? This is not a mystery for any of us to discover.
It's not stalking. It's research.
It's research.
All right. The second thing is shoot straight. Let your yes be yes, your no be no. And when you say something, don't go candy coating it and making it sound like you're bigger and better than you are.
Mark Leach of Jet Crafters Worldwide says, stay away from wishy-washy language.
Absolutely.
That's a real thing, wishy-washy
right.
language. He says you want to drive a clear future. So let people know exactly how you plan to go about following up with them. Ooh, how's that for an accountability streak, right?
I like it. Let people know how you want them to follow you.
And, if you tell them I'm going to call you or I'm going to email you or I'm going to check in and, maybe you got it through a certain place and they're not yet. And do you mind if I check in with you next quarter? check in with them next quarter. And so hold clear, shoot straight. She said, or Marky says, it works better than randomly and occasionally and just kind of when you feel like it, following up with them. I like the idea when you come across an article of an interest that you send it to them, because that's when you've sent it to them. But I also love the idea of setting a clear schedule for when you're going to follow up and then sticking to it.
And when you stick to it, then you give your prospects enough space to realize that you're not just in it for you, right? You're in it to help them navigate a decision that they are going to make anyways. Oh, give them some space. Yeah.
Right. We have our timing, right? We set our goals. I've got to, close so many deals, and I've got my metrics, and I've got my boss that I'm accountable to, or especially if you're in network marketing, right? You have the goals that you set and the numbers you're trying to reach. And I can't tell you how often I get a notice from somebody. I'm trying to reach my goal. So will you buy something right now before midnight so I can reach my goal? And you kind of get really pushy and you get in that desperation mode. Their timing and your timing are often not going to match up.
It's true.
And so this is where that follow-up, staying in touch with them and staying connected and keeping on their radar screen allows it to be perfect for them. And when the timing is right, the timing is perfect.
Always.
And so giving them some space. Now, this only comes from a mindset of abundance.
Yeah. If you're desperate, we can smell you coming a mile away.
Right? You can't give anybody space when I need to close a deal today. I need to get my commission. I need whatever, right? And so it has to come from a space of abundance, which means you go back up to that whole pile of people, of list, of connections, of all of that untapped resource. And you realize you do have abundance and you can give people space, because in that pile,
right,
in your 1,000 true fans, you're going to find the right number of people to come through. And cycle through as you continue to follow up.
And finally, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Probably the best lessons we've ever learned came from when we walked out of a room with our tails between our legs thinking, "Ooh, just keep it together until we get to the car."
Yeah, we had to make a rule, don't cry in the elevator.
Right?
But we learned something from that, right? And so you don't stop trying. You learn how to do it better.
That's right.
You learn. And so those mistakes, those challenges that come along are just part of the growing process. And don't we all want to get better, right? We don't want to be the same person we were 5-10 days ago.
No. All right, friends, we're going to take top of the hour news break. And then we will come back with hour number 2 of the Experience Pros Radio Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Angel Tassi and Eric Raymer here to helping you get your business right and empowering you to build your brand. Check us out, experiencepros.com. Back after the news.
America's home for positive business talk. You're listening to the Experience Pros Radio.